If you are, smile, because we are recording. So, one of the things I enjoy is hearing my students, whatever class that you're in, is to really apply it out in the world right away. There's things that we can discuss that are happening in your world right now that are applicable or relevant. And I feel it's the most important where when you learn a concept in class or discuss in class, and you go out in the world and you see it happening right away, the chances of you retaining the information is high. Rather than read something that you don't really understand and don't see how it is relevant, it makes it really hard to retain the information. So I'm very optimistic that you will learn the most that you can. However, I'm also a realist and know that there's so much information we can't learn. I'm still learning a lot of different accounting procedures that corporations do. So even though that you're learning the basic foundational in this class, I guarantee you that wherever it is that you are going into, employer, owning your own business, the accounting concepts and how you apply it may be different in a way of how you express your equity, how you maintain it, how you acquire investments. They'll all be variably different, but you need to know the foundation of it in order to communicate what you did to your investors, to the world, to the IRS. So with that being said, anyone have anything to share out in their life since I last saw you last Tuesday that was relatively about finance, money, how you could have done something different? A marketing campaign? I mean, every time I get my mail, I get so many solicitation for credit cards, loans, personal loans. How do you decide when you need a loan or to take out a loan? Any thoughts?
Need to calculate if you really need to get it, and if you have enough like money for cover it in the future, just to check if your like credit history and your ability is okay with the loan and things you want to buy or you want to like to have with you.
Mm-hmm. But wouldn't you, Natalia, wouldn't you want to take out credit because you need the money?
It depends. I don't know. For me, it depends on the like purpose of the credit. For example, if I let's pick maybe not credit. Let's pick some maybe I don't know. If I need leasing, for example, if I know that I need to buy a car, of course, especially like in LA, I need car for sure because it's impossible. I tried to go for like stroll, but it's impossible in Los Angeles. So I need a car, and I need to understand that even like I need to buy the car which I can cover, and it's a main aspect. So I for sure need, but I need to understand which car I can like which car it should be. For example, I know that I haven't enough. I'm not planning to spend a lot of money, so it can be like the lowest price because I need to remember about insurance as well. But
Mm-hmm.
and of course, I will not buy like a car with I don't know with monthly payments 1,000 because I haven't enough money for this. I will take, for example, those like for 400, and it should be planned. But if it's not like something not urgent, just I don't know, I want to buy a new TV set. Of course, I will check my ability, and if I can't buy for the present moment, I will not buy.
Yeah. Well, just the thought process of what you're explaining tells us number one is that first of all, you have to decide if you need a car or not.
Yeah.
Then, and then after that is that it's just not the car. There are other expenses that are considerations to it, which is insurance, gas, car
Yeah.
washes.
Mostly it's insurance because it also depends. It depends on a lot of aspects. It's like how about your driving license, about type of the car, and something like this. So you should understand that the insurance can be like the same amount as you need to pay for a car.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
gas, of course. Or for example, if it's like electricity, you need to remember also that you need to go somewhere to charge your car.
was thinking through the process because you're right. If you're gonna, it's just not deciding on the car, but you have to decide, is this a gasoline car? Is this an electric car? But I also want to propose to you that there are some costs just as easy as buying a car to consider is your driving record depends on your insurance. So that could be a variable. The time, if you don't buy a car, how much time it takes you to get to your destination. So then you can do a time factor on there. If I don't have a car, it's going to take me an extra 2 hours per day just to get on the bus or what, whatnot. So when we think about just simply buying a car, there are so many different associations with that. There are options to getting a car instead of buying a car is how much the car, the budget, right? However, I also want to include in that when you understand the concept of leasing a car, there's a pros and cons to that too. So leasing a car, to simplify what we're discussing, leasing a car sometimes is more advantageous than to buy a car. We know that a car is a depreciated asset. So every year that goes by, the car lowers its value. Now, the only value for you is to get point A, point B, doesn't really pertain to you. But if you were in the process of thinking, oh, I'm going to use this and then resell it in a couple years, because we know as soon as you drive it out the lot, especially at brand new, you lose the depreciated value right away because it's no longer considered new car, but a used car. But in the fact of so many decisions, just in a simple buy a car, in the same sense, when you're doing your financial analysis, when you have to be the one making these decisions, we have to be able to identify some blind spots, right? Things that we don't know or things that we cannot see. And that happens a lot to businesses. And for the chapter that we are entering today in chapter 6, there's a few different control elements that can help us with that. But going back to even our everyday options, we have choices. We have choices when we find out what is the preferred or most efficient way to make those decisions. Now, I say efficient. Efficient is really explained where that meets your need. What meets my need doesn't necessarily meet another person's need, right? Interesting that you brought up a car. This past weekend, I went to see my brother, and he was telling me the value of buying a Tesla. But I already knew the roads where I live are really rough, and I don't really enjoy driving a new car because I'm busy, I have kids. I prefer not to drive a new car because the depreciated value that I know will have. Number two, anytime the car gets scratched or whatnot, he would park a little bit further away so nobody would scratch his car. I don't have time for that. So those are those intrinsic values that I don't care for. So although it seems really mundane in explaining this to you, I just want to be able to identify that along with financial decisions, there are valuations that we need to consider, right? So Thank you, Natalia, for bringing that up. So I like to discuss this because it makes our brains think some of the blind spots that we have, some of the options that maybe we didn't even know about. For example, going back to the car, I have a cousin who's been in the car sales for a long time. I remember when I was much younger, I asked him, "What's the benefit of leasing a car when I just have to return it back?" And he explained to me that when you lease a car, you're paying as you go, versus when you purchase a car, you're paying all up front, and then you get to use it based on what you paid for it. That's a simplified version, but if you think about it, it reverts back to you, the user. What are your needs? What is your plan? And what is your budget, right? So with all the different incentives that's going on, I don't know all about them, but I know that we all have more options than we think we do. Sometimes we confuse our need and our wants. That's expensive, right? You get something that you just need, or is it something that you want? So that's for a different conversation. But in the same way, I see business owners make some of those decisions when it's really a want and not a need. I want to lease a nice, expensive building. Is that a want or is it a need? Do you have the revenue to support signing the lease for that nice, expensive spot, right? So those are all important. Gets our brain thinking about our money, right? Anybody else have another example? I see other people's logging on, so welcome if you were not here in the beginning. No one? Gosh, I find like as soon as I walk out the door, there's always examples out there. But all right. Okay. I want to spend some time this morning to go over some housekeeping things regarding the textbooks and the work that's being done. So I've been working with the academics team the last couple of weeks to get the class change a few things for me a little bit. So number one is first, we are in week 4. You need to have your textbook, okay? Either share it. I have a link. It is the 10th edition that your exercises are on. So I cannot help you if you don't have the textbook. The textbook I have, I cannot give you because the copyrights, and it's an instructor copy. So today, when we're going over your chapter 6 that you're doing, I'm going to show the screens on what the problem has. So is there anyone in this class right now has the book with them or have access to the book? Because I just want to compare.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is it the 10th edition, Christian?
Yes.
Did you get a
Yes,
hard copy?
Yeah. Natalia shared it to us where we can buy the 10th edition.
yeah,
Okay.
it's PDF should be the same, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
PDF.
Okay. So I want to let's see how I'm going to do. So we'll go over that. Before the end of class, let's go over the exercise. I just want them to look alike because some of the exercises that some of the students are sending in, they don't even match. So I want to make sure if you're spending time doing it, that it is the correct one, okay?
Professor, I have a question.
Sure.
Oh, when is the deadline for every discussion? Because I finished the discussion 1 and 2 last week. I think last Sunday, discussion 1.1 and 1.2. When's the deadline for every discussion?
Oh, so the syllabus is written that each week your work needs to be submitted each week. We're in week 4. However, week 1, a lot of students didn't have their textbook, so I was getting a lot of requests. And being new to Moodle, I was not able to. I still trying to figure out when I want to send just a broadcast message, just a broadcast email. Think that I have to send an email. It's not within the within the Moodle. So I will do that. So right now, if you have not submitted in weeks 1, 2, and 3, you need to get it into me as soon as possible. But before you do that, the way that the class was submitted in, let me see if I can share this with you here. Give me 1 second. Let me show you how it looks on my side. And the way that it looks on my side, because it's considered a discussion forum, a discussion forum is what? A discussion. I say something, you respond to my response. Christian's going to respond to both me and Natalia who posted, right? So it's not fit for you to upload information, and it's also not fit for you to post your work on there, because we don't need to see 20 times how that exercise was done. So it was very difficult for me to find out, just difficult to grade. So starting week 4, you no longer have the discussion mode. It's called discussion questions, but they're exercise. So don't worry about it being called discussion. Okay, I don't know why it's not prompting me to share, but let me go ahead and share which one it is here. Okay. Course IA. Okay, let me know if you can see this now, okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, so remember this one in discussion 1, how it says discussion forum? When I click on it, it's everything, and there's 30 replies. And the way that it does, it's like really hard for me to be able to actually grade your work. Okay, so let me tell you how it's changed. If you haven't already seen it, this is what week 4 looks like. Week 4, look, they're opened, and now I can actually
Uh,
look, now I can actually look at each person's submission versus it all crammed together. Okay, so these are going to be file uploads.
all right. So yeah. So for my discussion, what I made last Sunday is in PDF format.
Well, right now, I have asked the academics, because I don't know if they could correct or add what I want, because the week has passed. So what they might need to do is create another link within our Moodle and name it week 1, 2, and 3 for me as new assignments. And then you would upload it there. Okay. So this gives you an opportunity, if you have not submitted in, or I have not approved your work, because when you post discussed in class, that's not a submission, that's a 0. Okay. Because you need the textbook to see the page. There are comprehension questions that are on there. I did not develop that part. I am just grading that part. So I would say for right now, focus on week 4 and beyond. We will go back to week 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to request for that to be uploaded again so that I actually can look at your grades and mark them correctly. Right now, I don't feel that I could be able to correct based on what I am seeing. Okay. Let me see. I know you just finished week 3. I will go through that, and yeah, we'll just have to figure out what
figure
we're gonna
out what we're gonna
for week 3.
for week
If the
3.
work-
Hi,
Hey,
Professor.
good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is
Yeah,
Abe. I have a problem. Can you hear me?
I can hear
I
you, but
can
there's,
hear you, but there
are you,
are you
else,
else
another device
another
on?
device on?
No. Can you hear me clearly now?
Okay, that's
Okay,
better.
that's better.
Okay,
No,
so
no.
this is Abe, and I take this class as full online video conference, but I just wanted to join because I have issues of understanding what to do in the discussion questions, and I emailed you about it. You explained, text, thank you so much, but I still didn't get it. Because when I download the chapter 1 from the course files and I check it, there's no exercise there. And in the DQ, it asks me to do exercise 1A, for example, but there's no exercise 1A. I cannot find it.
It should be
It
in your
should be in
book.
your book.
Should be what?
Book.
Book.
You need to
buy
buy
book.
Oh, it's on a book?
Of course.
Of course.
Oh, how can I find this book? I cannot hear you, Professor. You're muted. Professor, you're muted.
And I was
I
trying
was
to
trying to
my voice. Your double voice.
voice.
I don't know what's wrong. Just let me fix this problem. Just 1 sec, please.
Natalia, when you shared that link, was it from Chegg?
I will try to find this link one more time because
I remember you shared it, but it was on the chat. Maybe if you email it to me as well, I'll share my source and then you share your source.
oh yes, I
And
will
they'll
try
have
to find this link one more time because I'm not remember where is it. I will try. I know I have like a check and we'll find the yeah, I will send you by email. Maybe I can ask you also one, like just to understand for me. I send you all the information for the week 1, for the week 2,
yes.
and I don't need to change something for now.
For right now, Natalia, since you emailed it like I asked you, once I get the link up that I need, I will take your work and upload it for you. Unless you can also do that. But I know that I got your work.
Okay, for the 3rd week, I will email you today because I just little like overwhelmed with the 2nd week because I have a mistake and try to fix it 2 days and don't understand where is it.
The thing
Yesterday.
with accounting is that once you have one mistake, it carries through. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like
Yeah.
addition, you add something wrong, it just makes everything else wrong. So that's the difficult part. Sometimes when I am correcting, it's incorrect, but I have to also find where it is that's incorrect.
Yeah, it was for sure with like this.
It's actually
second
hard
part.
to grade accounting because maybe you make a small mistake, but it carries through, and all I see is the bottom number. Oh, the bottom, the total didn't match, but I can't figure out where it is. But guys, I just want to let you know, all of these little transactional, they're important. The exercises help you think and have you feel like what an accountant does, right? To appreciate the work that they do so that you can love your bookkeeper. After you go through here, you're like, for sure, I'm going to hire a bookkeeper, right? So you can love them more because I think that we don't give enough credit for bookkeeper. But for you as students, is understanding the concept. I hope that we're going to go through T accounts so that we can just go very basic and talk about T accounts. But you're not going to be accountants. So as much as you do this, I'm also giving myself permission that when I'm grading your work, as long as I know that you understand the concept of reconciling the balance sheet, or when you read the journal entries, if I feel that you understand it, I'm going to move on. Okay. because that's more important for you to understand the concept than it is. Because I know you could add, I know you could subtract, and most of these are just adding and subtracting. But what's more important is knowing what's the source or the category that we need. Like, what is a dividend? Is a dividend an asset or liability? Things of that nature are more important because I know you could add the dividend. So hopefully that eases everyone's nerves about this class. I mean, I have to ease myself as it too. I was stressed out myself. Because I felt behind. I could not get my work done and I needed help just as you guys. So right now, I think week 4 beyond, we're in control. But that's like half the class, right? So week 4 beyond, number 1, you need the textbook. You cannot do this class without the textbook because all the work and exercises are on there. Okay.
Oh, excuse me, Professor. So sorry for cutting you off. I think I should sound good now, right? Is it better?
Yes, much better. I don't know what happened.
I don't know because I couldn't do it. Like probably it was connected to some other devices.
First of all, help me with this. How do you pronounce your name?
It's Ayub.
Ayub. Oh, that's
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, Ayub, go ahead.
So I couldn't get it. If you said something about my question, if you explained it, I couldn't just hear it. So sorry for that. So how can I find this textbook? And the questions will basically be based on this textbook. So if I get the textbook, will I be able to do the all exercises?
I was going to show this later, but since you have asked, and I know that's what everybody on this class is asking, let me go ahead and share my screens. I'm going to share my whole window. It's going to look a little weird a little bit here, okay? Okay, so number 1. Okay, guys, this is my textbook, okay? So this is a chapter 6. So let's go ahead and look at week 4. Week 4, it says this discussion question 4.1 because it's week 4. Okay. Irap, did you see this? Okay. And I'm going to go in it. You see here it says chapter exercise and problems. It's giving you the page number of the textbook. Now week 3 page number did not line up. And so I had to give you a screenshot. But let me go back to week 3 for a second. So this is this coming week's work. So pages 39 to 41. Sometimes if the page number does not match up, you just look at the 62A, 63A, okay? We're going to go into the textbook now. This is my textbook, okay? So the first one is all the way down. So you're going to do your reading. Guys, these are really interesting stories. I don't know if you're taking the time to read, but it talks to you about Enron. It applies the concept to the reason why we do some of these things. So I always enjoy reading about the different companies. Okay, but going back, I'm going to scroll all the way down. I'm sorry for scrolling because this is my copy that was given, and I only scroll except if I do this. Maybe I can do like 75. Let's see if it moves it. Okay. Okay, so this is exercise 6.8a. So we're looking for 6A2. Okay, so your question starts here.
Yeah, it's the same.
Who's that? Christian, is that you?
Yeah.
Okay, it's the same Christian? Good. I want to
Yeah.
make sure because you have the 10th edition.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so this is where you're going to do 6A2. It's 6A2, 3, 4, 8, and 9. So it's 2, 3, 4. You're going to skip 5, 6. You're going to do 8. Okay, and 9, right? So you're just going to follow what this example is saying, because this is how I'm grading it based on the information I have. Okay, now let me go into, is any questions on that? Anyone? Okay. Okay, now you go into this one. This one's, the second one is always a little bit, it just has comprehension problem, okay? But it's 360 through 361. Again, sometimes you have to check this and it's not, I find that it's not always the correct page, but right now I'm on page 340. So let me get to 360. You do let's see if I can skip ahead. Okay, 360. Okay. This is where it says, you see how it says comprehensive problem? This is going to be for the discussion question 4.2. Okay. So you're going to balance for Pacifico Security Services. So you're going to use this here. Okay. Now, a lot of these are done on a spreadsheet, your tables. Okay. Don't write it out. It takes more time for you to be explaining to me this in essay format. If you're not typing a sentence, you're just doing the T account tables, the Excel spreadsheet, your journal entries. I should
Yeah.
not be saying
Professor,
yes.
this discussion, especially with this completing these exercises,
Yes.
it took me almost 2 hours to finish everything.
Yes.
For
Who
just
is this?
the
Christian?
discussion.
Is it Christian?
Yeah.
Oh. Hang on. Go ahead, Christian.
Yes. Oh, so I'm not sure if I did it correctly.
Okay.
Is it okay if I can share it?
Sure.
Yeah.
I was just going to share you with my page as well. We can compare it.
I mean, my assignment that I did for week 1. I'm not sure if I did it right.
Okay. Go ahead, share it.
Yes. Wait a second, bro. Where is here? Share, share, share.
So, Professor, while waiting for him, will you be able to share the workbook with us? Is it possible?
The textbook,
Yeah, the textbook.
I cannot for copyright reasons.
Oh, then how can I find it, or from where?
The one that I have is an instructor
Oh.
book.
Oh, okay. So that's not for students.
I
Okay.
will, so when you look in for the textbook,
Mm-hmm.
okay, are you taking the serial number and putting it in? Because I could find it.
On Amazon, we have a lot. This book is available everywhere. It depends on the price.
Yes.
The main reason it's the price. Just try to find like the cheapest one.
The one that I found was about $40. About $50. How much did you pay for yours, Natalia?
It's less than like $29.99, something like this.
Okay. Well, Natalia is cheaper, guys. I don't know.
Is this a physical book or a digital version?
It's PDF, digital.
It's digital. That's nice. That's better.
Yeah, it
Do
looks.
you have a link? Do you have a link to get it?
I need to, maybe Christian have, because I sent it previously, but for now I have a lot of like links. I need time.
Natalia, I'll find it too. I think you posted it on one of the discussion questions.
Yeah, I will maybe in case I will find it during the lesson. I will share. Just I need time. We'll check. Maybe I will share it right now.
Yep, I will find it and email it to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much,
So-
Professor. I really appreciate it. And Natalia, every one of you, thank you so much.
Let me know because you have a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, like, I mean, you're right. You're definitely right.
Okay,
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah,
Christian.
so is this the right way of doing this? So this is for discussion 1.1.
Well, first off, you are correct to put it on Excel so that you could put the columns. So that is correct, right? I see 6. You can take a look here. Yes, but thank you for putting it on. And then when you're answering the questions, okay,
Yeah. When I answer the question, I put 1, and then
Yeah.
under the question is
so you have the one that you have. This is one. Oh, I was looking at for chapter
yeah, it is
6.
for week 1.
This is for week 1. Well, I don't know the exact question for that, Christian, but I know that what you have is correct.
All right, I got it.
Okay, the way that you're doing it is correct on Excel spreadsheet because I want to see columns. I want you to do the journal entries and
Mhm.
labeling them.
Oh, I see. So we should upload an Excel file because I converted it to PDF after creating this.
When you print, you print it on a document? I mean, the only thing is sometimes Excel's when it opens for me, it doesn't always open. So
Yeah, but when I print it, there's no table,
mhm.
but it is aligned. Can
Okay.
I try? Let me see. I can share it.
So when you do, let's see here, do file print.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
don't
then it
think
says
it's like
active
this.
sheet. Can you scroll down to where it says print, where it says active sheet? Okay, drop down for me. Okay, so you see in tile or the current selection. So if you can exit out there and just highlight your work on that page.
For example, should I divide it every exercise?
No, you can do it all one. Okay. Well, just for example, you could just do that. And then did you? Okay.
No, it's still the same.
Well, I can see it. This would be what you would save, right? And then you would save it as a PDF
Yeah.
or document for me. That would be great.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, class, since we are still working on this, if you have not gotten week 1, 2, and 3, and some of you have totally the wrong exercise. If you have that issue, you need to email me so I can figure out what you have and so that I can figure out to open up the discussion question for you to upload to me, okay? So I'm going to start grading week 4 and beyond, and we're going to go backwards to week 1, 2, and 3 for you to complete your work, okay? I know I take responsibility on being new to Moodle as well, but it is your responsibility to get your textbook on the first week. Okay? Some of you, I know your name, but I haven't even heard from you, so I cannot help you if you do not reach out to me. If you reach out to me, I prefer an email. On the subject line, put the class name and your name. I have so many emails, so I try to respond as best I can. But if I don't have enough information to respond back to you, or if I don't know what class it is, it's harder, it takes me longer to get back to you. So help me help you. Email it to me. I know some of you text me, which is great, but my text gets so much and your email gets all the way to the bottom until I can get it. So I can track it better when it's on email, and then you will have a record. Because sometimes with as many students I have, if I tell you it's okay or it's not okay, and I am incorrect or I didn't remember, I can go back to my record and see what I told you, then I will honor what I said. All right. Does that does everybody ease now? Can everybody breathe? All right. Thank you, Christian. I guess you're the only one breathing with me. So, okay, so the first issue that will help you is get the textbook, okay?
I have a question.
Yes, Sophie.
Did you grade discussion 1 and 2 yet?
I did. For those that submitted, and for those that submitted, the exercises that were the correct ones. I have some that if this is you, I don't know who it is, but if this is you and you got a 0, either it was completely the wrong exercise or it was an unacceptable answer, or if I said, please contact me, okay?
Okay, but I haven't gotten any feedback or response. It just says not graded.
It says
And I
not.
got my discussion 3 is graded, and it was the right question. So I think I have the right questions on 1 and 2.
That's good to know. Okay, let me
But
remember
I
how
can
I
email
told you.
you with the.
You can, please do. When I let me go back to that one, Sophie, because earlier when I showed you how the discussion forms, it comes all, you know how when your Gmail, if everybody's commenting on that, everything gets squished together.
Yeah, I see that too.
I don't know who is in there. So
Yeah, I submitted a link. So it's like into.
oh, you did a link?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I can email them to you, and you can see if they are the right ones, if you want to.
Sophie, don't give me a link because I don't. Sometimes link requires permissions and stuff like that. If you didn't,
Okay.
if I'm grading at night and then because maybe the permission expired, I won't be able to. So let's, give me some love and don't send me a link. Oh, I do see your link right now. And I did. Oh, that's probably why I didn't grade. Okay, let me see. Okay. Sophie, you know what you could do is, since you have your document already, can you please just don't send me a link, but send me a document and just email it to me. Put discussion 1 and I will grade it that way. And then I'll transfer your grade manually and not go through Moodle.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody have any questions of what we're talking about? So let's give everybody the grace for week 1, 2, and 3. Okay. What does grace mean? Something that we don't deserve. I need the grace as well. Okay. So we're going to be okay. Week 1, 2, and 3. We're going to start fresh. Week 4, there are links for you to upload. And then we're going to circle back around and then figure out 1, 2, and 3 by the end of week 8. Okay. Great. All right. Well, I want to talk about other things, but I want to make sure, because this is causing a lot of anxiety. Since nobody's asking questions and we have this recorded, I'm going to move on. Good? All right. I want to talk to you about, I want to talk about chapter 6. Chapter 6 is, has had a lot of, how do I want to say? I'm going to pull up my information here. Chapter 6 is called Internal Control and Accounting for Cash. So I find like this chapter is probably going to be the easier one to understand. And we can see it in a lot of different places. Okay. So let me just make sure that I have everybody's attention. Okay. Raise your hand if you request a receipt every time you pay for something. whether it be an online receipt, whether it be a paper receipt, a text receipt, do you request for a receipt or you usually say, no, thank you? Ruan, thank you. Nice to see you here, Ruan.
Keep the receipt all the time.
You keep the receipt? How
Yeah.
long, Natalia, how long? So you get the paper receipt?
For example, if, I don't know which example, if we speak about Kostka, yes, I save the like the paper, because in case I need to back something, because I have like some things which I should, because they have a poor quality, so I keep this. And
the thermal paper does not hold long, right?
yeah, and for all other, usually I ask to send it via email, because like, I don't know, it's more safety for nature. Don't
Right.
need a lot of paper, but anyway, to check if everything is correct, will be great to have a check.
Yeah. Hey, recently, when you're out to eat, has everybody been checking their check and what they're being charged?
Yes.
I have to say that probably in the recent years, maybe in the last 3 to 4 years, myself as a consumer have had to make sure I get the bill and look through it. I can tell you that maybe prior to that, 5 years ago, I didn't have to because I trusted that it was correct more than I do now. Okay. Because nowadays, every restaurant seems to feel like they can just add the tip on that they feel it's correct or not add it on. So sometimes if you're not looking, you're tipping on top of the tip, right?
Yeah, there's already a tip, and then they can ask you for another tip.
Right. So just a fun question for everyone. So if you find out that you just tipped on the tip, will you go back and ask for that money back? Christian, what do you think?
Mm, it never happens to me, but
It
but
might be fake, right? Well, maybe
yeah,
the receipts. You're tipping on a tip. I think as a consumer and you're paying, right? We pay what we're expected to pay, right? So if we overpay, we have the right to come back and ask, right? They might not be happy and you might not feel good about it, but the right thing to do is that you can request for that refund back. I know that most of us feel like, oh, it's
yeah.
okay, never mind, I'm just going to move on. It depends on how much it is. In the case of my brother, he overtipped by $50 because they had already added, and then he added another 50. It was a big party, so it wasn't that big, but only 6 of us. But anyhow, this leads us to know that the internal controls or the accounting of cash, there are checks and balances that are important for us to realize and create a process for that. So right now, if there's anything for myself, if it's under $10, I'm okay with not getting the receipt because I'm not expensing it. It's my own personal, I only have myself to be accountable for. And the only thing that I need for my records is that the transaction is on my credit card statement. I probably use 99% on my credit card because there is a tracking there for my purpose. But I can tell you that if I needed to submit this to my company for reimbursement, my credit card statement is not sufficient. I need to have a physical receipt with the store name, with the date, and how much I paid in order for me to submit it. Okay, I'm sure your HR department will, or expense team will need this, require the same. But that's because you're requesting money refund back from another entity that's not your own. If it's your own, you can actually have your own process. So I'm sharing you with mine. But anything over 10, I'm going to ask for it. I'll probably keep it in my purse for a couple of days and then toss it out. because I've had way too many. Okay. But the big ticket items you have are important. So the next level of internal control is that I'm going to give you an example. Anybody here recently went to the movies? A theater? I noticed it mostly in the theaters. And what do I notice? I notice that when I go pay for my ticket, I'm not talking about buying it online, okay? But when I pay for it at the station, I meet the cashier, we exchange our currency, she gives me a ticket, and then I give to the person who goes collect the ticket for me before I enter, okay? So there's a control process, right? Why is it that the theater does it that way? Why does the theater not have the person who took the cashier also be the one to let people in?
Because you can maybe make a mistake because you pay. I don't know. It looks like it should be 2% because different type of work for this.
Mm-hmm. And it's so easy to oversee that control. Maybe not make it, yeah?
I think they do it for the capacity limit to make sure that everyone going in is in the right theater or cinema,
Mm-hmm.
because every cinema there's a limit on the capacity.
Right. I know, I don't want to be responsible. When I worked at the bank, sometimes they asked me to stay back to close with some of the tellers. I don't deal with the money, but just knowing that there's another third-party person there, it keeps the tellers and the bankers safer, because if they're dealing with money, there's always two-person that has that. When I worked at a retail store, when we closed at night, when we have to leave together. And before we leave together, we have to open each other's purses so that one or two person would look at each other. I would look at yours, you would look at mine, and then we leave. Okay. And so those are those processes that are more physical for safety reasons, but it also gives us the safety net, the opportunity to not be questioned. And I think that that's an important accountability. So in chapter 6, it introduces us to that concept of internal control. Okay. I'm trying to think what other areas that we could see internal controls right now in our everyday working. Anyone else other than where the theaters are doing? I said retail. Yeah. Wherever there's opportunity for questioning, I think that us as individuals should be the one to protect ourselves first. Don't depend on the process, but if you find that, hey, I'm not comfortable when I'm the only one here and I have to be the one to close out, sometimes lack of employees create big gaps, okay? But make sure, whether you are in charge of it or not, to bring it up to your higher up. Say, hey, you're asking me to do this. I'm telling you, I'm uncomfortable. I want to have a different way to do this. Fortunately, with technology these days, there are cameras, and I really like it when I go to places with cameras right at that cashier, so that when you give them a $20, they will set it aside and count out your change before they give it back to you, because if they put it in the drawer, it used to be that if there were cameras, you put it in the drawer, they would forget and give you the wrong change. But now everything's on record, right? Everything's recorded. So that gives us as consumer and the shop owner, the business, a lot more validation, so that those incidents don't happen. Now, in the same way of we doing this physically in your accounting, there's also a process that you could do. In fact, the T accounts that you have to do when you're journaling and figuring out if it's a debit or a credit, on each side, you have to balance out. So that is a way of checking as well on how money's coming in and out. And it, so that when you go to reconcile your bank account, what does reconcile mean? That making sure the two balance, okay? If it doesn't balance, at least you know the difference. You know that you're looking for, you know, however many dollars, there's $20 different here. So that you go back and you know what you're looking for. So there are measures within accounting that will help do that. Now, in the past, in the 2000s, there has been some laws that have passed, and one of them is the law where it's the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, where they require your CEOs to certify their statements. In your textbook, you're going to get to read a little bit about Enron. Does anybody know about Enron and what had happened there? I mean, it wasn't the first time that a company had, but anybody know the story that they can share? Or at least share what you know about it?
No.
So Enron was an accounting firm, right? But they had two sets of books. So what does it mean when you have two sets of books?
White and black.
Right and wrong,
They,
maybe?
they,
The right
they're
one and the
cheating.
wrong one? The real
They're
one and the
cheating.
what? Right?
One is for something, and then another one is for the real one.
That's what I said, the real one and the not so real one. I mean, we think it's funny, but that's such a distrust. And I want to believe that people don't intend to go that way, but when we are put into pressure to perform, we there are gray areas, right? And so I'm going to tell you that doing the right thing isn't always feels good, but it needs to be done right. Right is right, right? Because it follows you. Because if you can do it one time, there's going to be another time. And so you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? And I think that that's the same way for some of these companies that have been caught and done things that they regret. And it costs their reputation. That is probably the most and the biggest thing to understand, is that everything we do always comes back, and it changes our character when we make those kind of decisions. It always costs us. I have seen people in real estate where they have done things to me, they just sold their reputation for a few $1,000s, right? If you think about how much will it be until I do something such as that, right? Like, how much is our reputation worth? And some of these companies have not come back, have not been able to come back. So let me share with you. This is in your textbook. And I found that, let me see here. I found that these little stories that the textbook puts in are so important to read to get the insides of it. Now, something happened this week in the market? Anybody know?
I know. Looks like, as far as I know, that all the companies lost a lot of money because Chinese company like reproduce or show their own program the same like ChatGPT. That's why all the market falls.
I know, there's a huge disruption. Huge disruption. They're anticipating like a loss of almost $1 trillion, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like about, I know that all the big companies from 10 till 15%.
Oh,
Yeah.
at least it tanked so much. So
Yeah,
when we have those kind of events, it's always still finding out what's happening. We don't know. They're still new. But cases that has happened before that was just as big, now we have data. We can use them as case studies and really pinpoint and say where was the deviation that had happened for them to get to that point, right? So right now, DeepSeek, right, is a company that came out, has been a headliner for the last couple of days, I think. I don't know if it's been longer than that, but I know that they just launched that product 6 days ago. So huge disruption. So keep your eyes and ears to see what happens there in the market. Does anybody here stay close to the market at all? This one's particularly to the AI market, but just in stocks market and your investment. Okay. A lot of numbers going around, and how to relate that to accounting is, to me, always interesting. We don't always know going forward, but when we look back, we'll see how they record. Okay, so I'm looking at the time. I want to give us maybe a break. Let's have a break till 10:30. That gives you a little bit, about 20 minutes. Okay. And let's do that. Okay, so be back here 10:30 and we'll continue on the next session.
All right, Professor. Thank you so much.
I'll see you back in a little bit, Christian. Okay, guys. Natalia, if you're there, I just tried to go into the discussion one and find that link to the textbook that you have. I did not see it. The link that I thought was actually your work submission, so it was not the link to the textbook. So I will look for it and post it somewhere so that you would see. All right, so I have a video I want to share. I don't know if it's going to trinket over to you well, but I'll try. Let me know if it's lagging, okay?
This morning, the Amalgamated Bank provides. We are deeply disturbed and angry to learn that company executives and directors who were charged with safeguarding the company's value have apparently engaged in activities to benefit themselves individually at the expense of customers, investors, and employees. Then another major burst, just as the company obviously now, while lining their pockets and setting themselves up financially for life, Enron insiders misled and defrauded the bank and other investors who were not privy to the same insider information as they were.
The bank believes it is unconscionable and therefore intolerable for these corporate insiders to inflict $25 billion of damage on investors, to ruin thousands of lives and countless retirements, and smirk and laugh to the bank with $1.1 billion in their pockets.
I thought I'd share that with you all while we wait for others to come in. So that was during the time that happened, it was just as big as it is. I feel like in this last few years, there are so many historical things that have been happening in the world. I hope that you have been paying attention, especially for business students. These are important time cycles and in historical where your grandkids are going to ask you, where were you when this happened, right? So always good to be in the know in what some of the headline makers are doing. Okay, so wanted to go over a few things that's on the textbook. Let's discuss chapter 6. I'm going to share you my book. Okay. This is one of the key things that's talking about. So what we just heard about the Enron fallout, talked about a lot of different damages that was had and a lot of trust that was given to them. So the two companies were Enron and WorldCom. You could read the details here. I'm not going to read it to you. But one of the most important thing is that Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002 was that they required internal control as a process. So they require that their executives sign off on their tax papers or sign off that they reviewed it, and now they're going to be accountable for it. Without doing some of these actions, a lot of the executives didn't have to take the responsibility of some of the decisions that was made that led the company to losses and distrust of the company. So sometimes taking the time to understand some of the rulings of the history, why we are here, how do we get here. And so the measures of what we're going to talk about today is the control of the environment. We talked about it earlier, how the conduct of each of our employees, how we're doing it, like the movie theater, how we have a separate cashier and a separate person that takes a ticket. In the same sense, it is a process, and they safeguard themselves for the benefit of the employee, but for the benefit of the company as well. These three things are going to be outlined in your chapter 6 for controlling the environment, risk assessment, and control activities. All relate to geared towards the same thing as protection and ensuring that there's processes that has accountability to the things that we do and the things that we report. Okay. Again, I don't necessarily read to you, but you will get the gist of it. So I wanted to go over a couple of things that it talks about that I think that is important to understand is that is listed here, segregation of duties. Basically, don't have one person do everything. Unless even when you're the owner, we have bookkeepers that will help you balance and take record of what you're doing. It is important that we set ourselves up for success and get information for protection, and be sure that you are able to explain the process of work and accounting that you're doing. This is the same sense of when you're working on industries that require regulation. For example, the food regulation. When you apply for a food permit, an inspector comes and they're going to ask you for the process of how to prepare certain items that you have, how you wash your dishes, how you sanitizing. Those are all done in protection of the food industry establishment. It is done for the owner's protection as well. So understanding what you are required to do and then taking those safety measures for yourself. Okay. Quality of employees, can't say enough about that. You get what you hire, and sometimes when we're not spending the time to hire good people, there are costly occurrences that happen. I myself have had this, not necessarily that they were not good employees, but employees where they are not clear on what their duties are or what I expect from them. So the incident that I had, I can think of so many, but I'll share one. We used to have a food truck and we used to have a driver. Well, when your employee who's the driver hits another car, what is the protocol, right? I wasn't at the scene and we did not address this occurrence, which we should have known that it was going to happen someday, right? Well, when he hit the car, he kept driving. He did not stop. And we got penalized even more so, that not just the damages for the other car, but we also got charged for for our own employee not stopping and reporting that incident. So many things that we sometimes think is common sense. It doesn't happen always that way. So understanding that there are consequences and things that whether you know or not know, right? So bonded employees, these are employees. I myself, when I was in certain roles, I had to get bonded, which is there's a level of insurance that covers you for any errors. Sometimes the errors is not intentional, but it does cause damages. And so there are ways that we could protect ourselves by getting ourselves bonded. Okay. I wanted to talk about required absence. Required absence is sometimes your company will force you to take a vacation, and not just 1 or 2 days. Sometimes in our credit union, when I worked there, each year you have to have a consecutive of 7 days. Within those 7 days, you had to take the time off. So is there anything that comes up, whether it was any mishaps that when you step away, it protects you that, hey, business as usual. Wasn't hiding anything. So these are important regulations, regulatory within the company policy to help you this. Has anybody here had work that has required them to take absences such as that? Or had done any duties that protect themselves that the company require? No one? I know that different cultures, I wonder if other countries, if you're not from US, have
Sorry,
they,
what was the question?
like, have you had any work in your employment where they require to do one thing or another as a way of protection for the company? Like I was saying that one of the things is that required absences. When I worked at my credit union, they required us to take 7 consecutive days a year. Just so that you step away long enough so that if there's anything such as misuse, fraudulent, that during those 7 days, it would cover. Here's what the textbook talks about. Employees should be required to take regular vacations and their duties should be rotated periodically. Employees may be able to cover up fraudulent activities if they are always present at work. Consider the case of a parking meter collection agent who covered the same route for several years with no vacation. When the agent becomes sick, a substitute collected more money each day than the regular reader usually reported. Management checked the past records and found that the meter reader had been understated and cash receipts, right? So those are those. I was just wondering if anybody has experienced that.
For me, no. Yeah.
No?
I usually work in HR before, so I
Okay.
haven't experienced any.
I don't know if it's connected, but we have like, depending on how much you worked in the company,
Yeah.
you have extra days for your vacation. It looks like the first year it will be 2 days and then 3, 4, and so on and so forth. And also we have ability to take 10 days per year, like vacation without any reasons. Something like you woke up in the morning and feel that you're not good or you're just tired. You can take these days, like day offs, but they will be paid in the future. Because I don't know, a lot of, and also I know the examples when company, but it's not usual, when company agreed to have a long-term vacation, for example, for 3 months, because it's my husband told me this story. His manager, he's working in the company maybe 12 years. All the time he had a vacation, but took not all the days. And after 12 years, he said that I'm really tired and I need a big vacation. And he quit the company for half a year and then come back. Something like this. Because and company offered it and gave him ability to do this because he's like a person who know everything as a company, but he just tired and it caused a lot of like maybe mistakes and it may be possible that he can burn out from work. I think that's we can say like this.
Yeah, burnout is one consideration for a person, but when you have too much control, how much is too much control, right?
Yeah, and he made a lot of decisions, so of course it's a problem. Also, he like a top management who like own the product, the whole product of the company. So
yeah, it's understandable to ask those questions.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Anyone have any comments to that? All right. Well, taking the authority and responsibility so that our employees get motivated, so that they have clear expectations and what they know, what their responsibilities are important. It's harder when they have the authority and they use their own judgments and then not be able to execute that. I know that giving employees empowerment to make some decisions help us as owners when we're not there to trust that they do the right thing so that we don't lose customers. The opposite end is when your customers, when your employees have no authority, every little decision needs to have you, and it doesn't give the customer the experience that they should have or a seamless decision. However, when we don't think through some of the specific authorizations for specific positions, it creates problems or concerns or too much control, right? When the employee knows more about the business than the business owners, there are going to be areas where perhaps mismanagement, misuse, whether intentional or not intentional, that's not the point. The point is that it's happening. And over time, it creates problems because you may think that you are making money, but maybe you're not. Only it's showing. So in that example of required absences, so if the parking meter person never takes off and is the only one collecting it, they found out that when he did take vacation, that the numbers that were reported are much lower than the actual numbers were. So there was questioning of what was happening. So number one, protect yourself, especially you're in those roles when it deals with entry and documentation. I know that sometimes for my work, we have to make requests to lock in certain interest rates. I always make sure I have a record of what the customer tells me because it's very easy. Once you lock it in, that loan is set. But when I don't document that and they come back and they say, I didn't tell you to do that, it creates a problem for the customer, creates a problem for me, and it creates a problem for the company, right? So ensuring, as far as understanding this accounting process, is always making sure that you know where is it that your stop is and where is it that you're responsible for. And voice up your concerns, because I think that in those type of processes, there are blind spots that management doesn't always know. And it is important that we bring it up for them because we're the one doing the job. Okay. Let's see here. I think that for chapter 6, most of the reasoning and the understanding of it is fairly easy when it comes to some of the other chapters that you just had. I think that this one creates a little bit better understanding because we understand already in the world how when we don't have control and the reasons why we do what we need to do, especially when we're working with cash. Does anybody here use strictly cash or prefer cash? Maybe you used to be and not?
Yeah, in my home country, we use cash.
Only?
We rarely use card.
Do they
I
get
don't know
receipts?
why. Yeah.
How do you track I mean, when you use cash with the business, do they give you receipt or are they usually out in the market? They don't.
Not sure.
No? Okay. I guess what I'm saying is that in your country, when you're using cash, does it always come back with a receipt?
Oh
Do
yeah, yeah.
they do? Okay.
Yeah.
I find that not always. Sometimes they'll ask you if you want a receipt, but if you're out in the market, little things like, when we buy Facebook Marketplace or whatnot, sometimes, I mean, you don't really get a receipt, right? So, do you prefer using digital currency versus cash? Anyone?
Depends. Depends. I use both.
What is it dependent on, Christian?
For like small purchases,
Yeah.
I
Not
usually
insignificant, right? Not really
yeah.
significant. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Well, our world is going more and more digital. And I can tell you that the credit card statement doesn't have a lot of information when you need to have a physical receipt, right?
Yeah.
So don't rely on your credit card statements. I'm guilty of that as well. I mean, sometimes we
Mhm.
are, anytime that when we are busy, we get careless. So some businesses now we see that they either take cash only or they take digital only. And I think that the digital one, I want to say that that's safer because you don't have cash where you have a lot of maybe possible theft, possible burglary. But I understand it's also a hardship for the business owner because there is a bank fee, bank charge that comes with that option. Hence, you'll see people want to see have a minimum charge before they'll take a digital currency, right? For you to pay with your card. So keep those in mind. But the important thing is that when you have a cash collection that is prepared immediately when you get it, is the most protective way. The cash that was handled and you count regularly, any missing amounts can be detected right away. Otherwise, if they give you change and you don't check and balance it right at that time and you walk away and you come back and you say, hey, you didn't give me enough. It's a harder argument for yourself. So I guess at that time, you're going to have to use your judgment and whether you have the ability to fight that dispute or do you have a record of somehow, like earlier I mentioned that maybe video recordings help a lot. But when it comes to the bank, I mean, the banks, they have just so many transactions going on. We're a busy business, have so many transactions going on. Having a process of keeping record helps everybody along the chain. So when we miss on that, when we get lazy, when we get too busy, when we don't understand how important it is, it impacts us on the everyday, impacts our employees as well. But my position as a lender, when you tell me that your business is making money, I'm going to ask you, show me. I'm not going to take your word from it because I have to also prove to the bank or to the investor that you also, so usually those come in the form of your financial statements. And so if very common that I see, well, we make we make good money or we're profitable off the books. What does that mean? Off the books means tells me that you have two sets of books, right? So really important to be able to document because you're going to have to show other entities. Now, if you don't need to borrow any money and not using any other resources, then you may get away with it. But anytime that you tell someone that your business is profitable or your business is at a loss, you should be able to show them why, have the calculations ready, have the receipts and records ready, right? That is good business practice. Unfortunately, businesses that I've met want to do the right thing. They don't always know how to do it. And it starts with making decisions and setting up processes first. The bookkeeper is part of your process to doing good record keeping if you cannot keep it up yourself. So sometimes it's admitting to yourself that, hey, this is the part that I don't know, or this is the part that I don't enjoy doing. I'm going to outsource it. I bet you 100% it's going to be worth the costs for you to pay to do that. Okay. Let's see what I need to also tell you. Any questions, guys?
None for me. And so
Where,
far, very.
where do you think where our society is going when it comes to deposits, safety deposits, or having a safe in the house now, or having a safe in the bank? I'm sorry, having a safe in the business. Do you guys keep things at home anymore? Do you pay for a safety deposit box? How do you keep your valuables? If you have any valuables, right? I tend to,
Yeah.
I think, I think this is what I tell my mom. Mom, having money, having no money is a lot of headache. And then having money is a lot of headache. So, but she always tells me, well, if I'm going to have headache, I'd rather have a lot of money and have the headache with it, right? So either way, it's a lot of work. Whether you don't have money or you do have money, it is a lot of work. And it comes with a lot of work is maybe a lot of headache. So ensuring that some of the things that we do are safeguarded. I just think that the culture of changing over these days to having safes at home, safety deposit boxes, people still use them. However, as people become more digital, I think that that changes how we see valuables, right? Anyhow, anything else? Guys, I don't like to hear myself talk only. I prefer to ask questions. Okay. So who here gets their bank statements digital, or do you always ask for paper statements to come?
I ask for digital. The first
Digital?
one was paper and now digital. It's more convenient.
Yeah. So that we don't lose it, right, Natalia?
Don't lose and don't need to save all these papers because in America there is a lot of papers for sure. Every day something is coming to the mailbox.
Right. You at least digital, you know where it is. And do you download everyone and keep it on your record, or do you just keep it within the bank's cloud? In your
Keep in the bank's cloud. Maybe if I need for some reason, I don't know, maybe to show the statement for someone else, it's a good option to save it on the mobile, but no reason to save it all the time.
Yeah. Well, they say that we should keep our records for 7 years, especially for taxes. So I questioned myself if I should be downloading the statements and keeping it on my own cloud, or do I rely on the bank's cloud to keep my record? Right?
Maybe
So
for this, like maybe for this you can make it like for once a year because you can have like the whole list and you can save it. Maybe not don't need to make it every month. Just save one in the end of the year before the taxing period will be great. I think. Not sure in this, but anyway.
Yeah, it is a personal decision. So I don't know. I guess it depends on what we're using it for. I know myself, I should be downloading it and keeping it myself. That's probably the best practice way. It's the best practice, but it's not practical to go in and download because it's still a lot of data saved on your server or on your cloud. So I'm going over here for those that didn't have the book. Natalia, I know you have the book. Give me your sense on what your thoughts are. Can you guys see the book? Give me a sense on what your thoughts are as far as how the book demonstrates the assignment to you.
For me, looks good because like it looks like you have some material that then you have examples and you
Yes.
can understand what they're speaking about. But then we have like self assignment. It looks like we can check everything one by one and check like the explanation for this. And
Mhm.
of course, when we're making our homework, it's a good idea because we can use other examples as
Mhm.
reference. It's a good idea because we can deeply understand, for example, this adjustment. It shows everything that we need to do, and then we can make our homework quicker because we have example. We don't need to go and check this information via the internet. We have the example, and maybe in the beginning, because I made in this way, I try to follow one by one all this explanation and put information which we have
Mhm.
like in the example, and it's more understandable in the end because you check, you remind everything, and next time you already remember that you made something and you saw this. So for me, it's a good idea because if we have enough time, we can make not only the questions you ask to do for us,
Yeah.
we can make by ourselves, and it helps because a lot of because it's about 800 like pages,
Yeah.
and of course it's only because a lot of examples. And if something not understandable, we can check, like we can use search. For example, if you don't understand what is T accounts and you don't remember the pages, you can search this and see without it. It's a good idea. I think that's great book because it's also helps in another course. For me, especially for another course, these books it even better than like the another books which provided by the professor.
Well, I wanted to show you this page here. This is from chapter 6 right now, since I'm on it. The important thing is that you see how the examples give you the accounting equation. Sometimes I have an example here for the, oh, I'm sorry, you cannot see. I only shared this one page. But to understand the accounting equation, where each of the assignments, they have the accounting equation for you, and then to see how it applies for the detail that it does, it helps you remember and to practice. Like Natalia is saying, it's the practice of doing it. For us to read through it, you don't actually retain the information as when you have certain adjustments, and they go into the details of the accounting equation and to show you where it lies. Sometimes it doesn't, I want to say sometimes you don't really understand it until you understand it.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
Because for me, Professor, I'm a type of learner that I need
Do it.
to try and do it for me to really understand it. Because if I'm just gonna read through uh the textbook, yeah, I read it, but I haven't tried it, so I'm not sure if I really understand it. So when I go through the assignment, so those exercises and comprehensive, I can always go back to the textbook and check how they do it and then match if I'm doing it correctly.
Yes. Right. So I know as much as it takes time, but to go through, it's like, how do you kick a soccer ball? If you just read the written out, it's not as easy if you just watch them do it or if you just kick it yourself, right? So the different learning mobilities that we all have, understanding it, and so putting the action to it. So with that being said, I'm going to share with you my screen. I thought maybe we could do some examples of T accounts. Now this sometimes I have to think it through myself too, but these are like, I kind of put some Can you guys see the T account? Okay. There's so many videos out there that does a great job on different ways to remember how to apply T accounts. So I thought today we take some very basic and understanding the T account. Now, how do we use the T account? Well, the T account isn't something that you would actually put on your journal. They're not in any of your financial statements. But what happens is that when you have a transaction that comes in, for you to think through, okay, how do we know if this is coming in or out? Maybe like a liability is a debt. Most of the time, a liability is money going out, leaving. But usually, what are you getting for that debt? If you're paying, if money is leaving for asset, means that you earned equipment, right? There's a transaction, so we have to balance things out. So this is a very basic one. You can get more information on what your style of learning is from any videos that are out there. So watch different ones so that they can explain it in different ways for you to get this part. But this is just the foundation of where you start to ask whenever you have a entry. Okay. So I believe the book went through this. If not, the dealer acronym confuses people because when we are listing debits and credits here, but they not necessarily mean that it's a left or right. Okay. We are just saying here where dividends, expenses, and asset typically is going to be a debit. A debit of what? We don't know because we haven't looked at the whole equation to figure out yet. So when we look at a startup company, there's going to be an initial investment. Let's just say our class is going to start a business. Okay. We have $100,000. So what are we going to do? So on here, the T account, you would put cash because it's a value. Does it have to be cash? No, it could still be a digital transfer, but it's going to represent the dollar, the amount, whether you hold it in your hand or whether it's digital. That's not the concern. But we know that for cash, it's going to go out, right? But what is impacting here? What are we getting from it? Probably equity, right? Okay, so we're going to, on equity, it's going to be a credit. So we would have 100,000 in equity now, okay? Which means that we put it in. Equity is just interest, an interest of an owner. Interest means the ownership, okay? But cash is going to leave. So cash is going to be taken out. See how these two things, cash is leaving, but it benefits equity. So we do have to do that double entry so that balance it out. You have a record of it, a cause and effect. So when you go through a lot of these questions, I know on the answer, on the adjustments, the first thing you should think is that, is this money coming in or coming out? Is money coming in or coming out? And if it's coming out, what kind is it? So that you can make that determination, okay? What is dividend? Dividend is usually a payout to your investors. So money is going out. Expense, what is expense? Money leaving the business.
Going out. Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, got money going out.
Money going out, right?
Yeah.
And then asset.
Asset use. Yeah, asset use.
Yeah. So when we go through the equipment, it costs money to buy something. So equipment, there's going to be money leaving. But this one would be, we would change this to equipment, right? But equipment is considered an asset. But it's a depreciating asset. That's a separate thing, but depreciating asset. Okay. How about product sales? When you make a sale, what are you increasing?
Revenue. It will be revenue.
Revenue, but you're increasing cash, right?
Yeah.
Money. Yep.
Asset,
How about service, like marketing?
It's expense
expense,
going out.
expense.
Okay. Why is it expense?
Because
Uh,
we paid for someone to provide these services to us.
A need for a business, okay? Now, there are some expenses that are kind of gray area, like, when you're working on it, what are some of the expenses that you think? How about, like I said, you need to borrow money from your from a brother.
It's increasing the assets because it
yeah,
could,
it's increase in cash and liabilities.
yes.
What if you get a grant? A grant that's forgivable.
But you
Increase in
have
cash.
What did you say? That's a good deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Increases cash. Mhm. Now, when we talk about cash flow and a line of credit, how, if we get a line of credit, where would that follow?
Increase in cash and
liabilities.
liabilities.
It's a tricky one to put on because although your business has a line of credit, it's not really a liability until you pull the money out. Right? Because you just have it as an option to draw out. Sometimes you might not, if you don't pull money out, it's not a liability yet.
It's I have here the main like the hardest aspect for me was when we're making two accounts. This notes payable, account receivable, and account payable. It's like for me it's the hardest things to understand. When someone wrote that because you need to understand that you have this money, but you or you have this money on account from the previous period, but you need to like to show them right now. It was like a nightmare for me. I don't know, because with outflows it's understandable, but when I saw that accurate money from the account, it's hard to to understand where we put, and these things are really hard.
Okay, well, really, we'll start from the top. So accounts receivable means that services that we've got out, but we haven't collected the money yet. Typically, accounts receivable are related to medical businesses, construction, things that you collect a deposit and you do the work and then you get paid half. Accounts receivable are not necessarily exist in transactional businesses where a grocery store, movie theater, the transaction is immediate, right? So when there is a collection period, manufacturers have accounts receivable. When you go to the doctor doesn't get paid right away. They have to bill it before they receive. So they have accounts receivable, money that's incoming. It is considered an asset to you. You may not have it in your hand yet, right? So, and then again, the opposite is accounts payable. When you order things, sometimes companies let you borrow it until you pay for a later time. But when these happen, Natalia, I call businesses this, they have running numbers. Numbers that are always changing. It is harder to reconcile unless you just pick a date and you just start from that date. That's why they have period endings, period ending, the interim of, especially mid-year, this is all the numbers as of just October 31st. And then that way you can actually have a cutoff. Otherwise, if you don't have a cutoff, all these numbers, it just keeps running. There is not a snapshot of what it is. And a lot of the financials that you'll see that has a date, it's just a snapshot of that business for that period. We usually go back 2 years and the year to date. So when we're reading file, we want to see the last 2 years and the year to date. Now the year to date right now is January, so we would actually be just looking at the last 2 years, because you can't, if we look at the interim right now, it's just be 28 days of January's. We can't really see a good picture of the business, but we can looking back 2 years. But if it's October, yeah, I want to know what October is, because that's a good 10 months out of the year, right? So understanding that a lot of your payables and receivables that you mentioned, it is understanding that how the business collects money. It actually a little bit more helpful if you know what kind of business it is and you understand how they collect money. Hopefully that helps. To start with that first, because sometimes I know when I was running my business, my bank statements say I should have $8,000, but when I count in my hand, my financial statements say I have 8,000, but when I count my hands, I don't have 8. So I know that there's still money that's uncollected out there. That's where we reconcile. You try to reconcile to a certain date. Like Christian said, it's harder to understand the concept unless you actually do the exercise, and then you can see how the money move. Yeah. As far as the math behind it, it's really not really math. It's just how we categorize and how we determine what transaction it is. Okay. Although there are some transactions that are a little bit harder to think through.
And also hard, not hard, but interesting, because we have on the second week, when you have like when you have a revenue, but parts of them it's on account and parts of them in cash.
Yeah.
And then like in 3 months, as example, in 3 months, you need to, like you get money in advance, part cash, part account, and then you need to recognize on the, I don't know, in the end of the year, how much money you like have, because not all these services was provided. It's also hard. So it's not common use, because these parts which we have, like start up the company, we know exactly, like investment equipment, we know the exact understanding for the cash to go and out. But when we have a lot of and different business, it's like not so easy. It's really easy to miss one amount, and then in the end everything is going wrong. No exact sum.
Yeah, well, it's trial and error. This is why we're practicing and to make those determination. But one of the fixes that the company usually does is we have a working capital, like a line of credit or so. So even though you have access to money to fill in those gaps, even though it shows that you should have money to pay your payroll, but your bank doesn't have it, it's because it's not reconciled yet. You have not received that yet. This is the accrual. I think it is chapter 2, the second week, regarding the accrual or cash. So different types of businesses has a different method of money coming in. So usually the cash flow statement helps us see that better. And the tool that we would use that for is working capital, which is oftentimes comes from a line of credit from a bank that lets you borrow to go ahead and use that. Okay. Now that becomes a liability because we do owe that money because we took out, but the money that comes in at a later date will go to that payoff, and so you'll be balanced again, zero out. It won't be a liability. We consider that a short-term liability. Anything that we could pay off within 12 months, we consider that short-term. Anything that's over a year, we consider it as long-term. So Usually I'm more concerned about the long-term debt versus the short-term debt. Usually short-term debts, it will resolve itself through the working capital. Yeah, I guess again, we can talk as much as it is, but when we see it happening in action, it is much easier to understand. Oh, I get it. I know now. I know why we recorded that way, right? So, let me see. Think. So I don't know exactly how many of you do have your books. If you do have it, please continue to work on your assignments, submit it in on an upload. I will figure out and reach back out to each of you regarding your work if you have or haven't submitted yet. Let's see here. Well, that's all that I have for you guys this today. Chapter 6, doing the comprehension. What I will do, I don't know how I'm going to see if I cannot snapshot the all of it because there's too many to upload, but if I could post like I did, let me show you what I did. I don't even know if you guys saw it, but let's see. Okay. Here in week 3, did you all see my week 3 here?
Yes.
Okay, in week 3, do you see the first one I put in the recent one, updated assignment?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the reason why I did this is because when I went to look at the book, I did not find the chapter 5A, 1, 2, 2A, and 3A. I couldn't find it on the book. So if I couldn't find it in the book, I didn't want you to have to go through that. So I crossed those out, those 3 exercises, and only had you do 4. Okay. Now, the next thing is that I did post this in the second one. Did you all see this one, the screenshot that I did here?
Yes,
Did you see
Professor,
it?
we saw that one, and it would
Did it
be really
match up
great.
with your book? Go ahead, I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, Professor. So I was saying that can you do the same thing for 1.2 and 2.2, please? Because like in our book, we don't have the like comprehensive problems. We were not able to find them.
For 1,
Yeah,
okay.
1.2 and 2.2.
Okay, remind me. Okay, I'm gonna look at it together right now with you right now, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Look. Let me share a different book here. Okay, this is the book that you should see. Okay, so 1.1. Let's do 1.1 first. It's the first week. And on the second one, which is comprehension problem. And it was in 1 second. Let's see. Chapter 1. Okay, I'm going to go to the front of my book. Second. Sorry about that. You're gonna have to see me scroll for 300 pages because I don't see how. Okay, here. Maybe the option changer. Let me stop sharing. Let me look at that real quick here.
Usually comprehensive.
It's at the end of the chapter.
It looks like we have. I can just a second. I can say where is it? Usually, it's a problem because they goes for the first we have like question to do. For example, for A as example, then we have some material, and in the end it will be comprehensive question. But yes, it's in the bottom of the chapter usually.
Mm-hmm.
You can do. There is
My-
a way you can do. You can control F for find and just write the comprehension question or problem, and then it will pop out on the page. Which page? Like how many comprehension problem is there? So according to the comprehension problem, you go to the chapter. You can find it.
Because it's not useful because for people who have because I can explain the reason that it can be different page because if you have PDF it will be not exactly the page
Not the
in
page of the PDF, but you have to look like for me, if you can still see my page. I'm trying to scroll, but my scrolling.
for the maybe it helps for the PDF for the chapter 6 comprehensive problem it's 360 the page 360 it's if it helps.
Yeah. So you see how it has like this page is 272, but the actual PDF is a different page. So you kind of have to look both. But I'm still in chapter 5. I'm scrolling to the. I want to go with like.
It's usually the last page, like it's the last page, and the next page it will be the chapter 7. So
Right.
just need to find
But she
chapter
wants to.
7.
She wants to see the comprehensive question for chapter 1. So I have to scroll all the way back to the front of the book. The mode that I have is not giving me the option to scroll to put a page number in. So I'm so sorry. So Natalia, if you have it, you can share your screen if this is taking too long. But
I think that it's not possible for me to share because I have privacy and it will cost a lot of time to solve this.
so you have the ebook. I'm sorry, I thought you had the actual book. Okay, well.
Well, Professor, maybe you can just like post it, like as you posted for 3.2. Maybe you can
Wait.
post the screenshots for 1.2 and 2.22.
But here's the thing. It's just a comprehensive one.
Yeah, Professor, just the comprehensive one. Just like there is 1.1 and 1.2. So 1.1, I'm done with that. Like 1.1, 2.1, 3.1. I just need to do the comprehensive one because I didn't knew like where they were in the book. So maybe you can just post them as you posted like 3.2, the screenshots.
Okay, well, I'll post it. If I cannot post it in the actual week 1 because it had already passed, I will label it and post it for week 4. Okay, you look in week 4 for week 1's work. Because I don't know if I can still go back and post things in there. That's kind of like my issue is I don't know if it closed out for me. Does that make sense to look in week 4 for the posting for week 1?
Yeah, that will be fine, Professor.
Okay. Now I can post it, but you still need the book because the book will give you the examples on how to do that assignment, okay? I know I'm posting it, but you still need the book to actually help you understand that that chapter.
Yeah, so Professor, I have the book. I got the book from Muhammad, and
Uh-huh.
but yeah, I'm not able to find the comprehensive questions on the book because it's old one. So the page numbers they are not same. I can find the like questions like 31A, 328, things like that because like the numbers are same.
Huh?
The like numbers of questions they are same, but the page numbers they are different. So in the comprehensive questions, they just indicate the page number, like from page number this to this. So as the page numbers are different, I'm not able to find the comprehensive one, like
Okay.
which one I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, that's when you can look at the end of chapter 1. Well, that's where I'm getting to. Let's do it together. I'm sorry, I cannot tell you. Okay, let's do, this is chapter 2. Okay, let's look at chapter, no, it wasn't chapter, is the discussion, okay, let me just focus on this one. I was going to go to 2, but this is the week 1. I'm going slow because I want to get to the end of chapter 1. Okay, what series is this here?
So in the 7th edition, the comprehension problem is on page 59 for the chapter 1.
Your 7th edition?
Yeah, I'm selling it to Harkiran.
Okay, but we're on we're on edition 10, so let's even compare and see if it's the same,
All
if
right,
it's the same,
question, problem.
yeah. I'm hoping it's the same, but that's probably why when I'm grading some of them, I'm like,
I
this is
found
not the
I checked
same
I
question.
checked the question on comprehension for the 3rd week. It was the
Uh-huh.
same. Only there was difference with the year. It was mentioned like 2015 instead of year 5,
Oh,
and
okay,
2014 instead of year 4. So that
okay,
was the only difference. Other than that, all the question was same.
okay. How about the other following chapters? Were they same or different?
So for the first chapter, I have the. Let me see if I can share this. I'm taking a screenshot and share it.
So why did you buy the 7th edition? Did they not have the 10 one for you?
No, the 7th edition. It was like my brother. He was on the IU like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. So I just took it from him, but I was going to buy it anyway, but if it wasn't matching.
Okay. Because I don't want to, I mean, if everybody had the same book and if it was
Yeah.
in there, it's much easier than for us to have to compare our notes.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure you don't want me to keep kicking back your assignments if it's not matching either. I don't want to do that.
True.
I'd like to just finish and move on, give you a grade, and let's move on. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe how slow this is. Sorry, guys, but I want to get the answer correct. Okay, what chapter? Okay, we're still in 2. How long is chapter 2? Oh my gosh. Okay. Guys, usually there's a page number at the bottom that I can press in and then be a shortcut to this, but what I'm sharing with you here, it is not giving me that option. But those of you who want to, okay, let's see here. This is the chapter 1. Okay, here's a comprehension question. Did you see it? I'm
Yeah,
gonna do
I'm seeing it.
Professor, I guess from the 7th edition, some of the questions are matching and some of them are not matching. Even I'm
Okay.
using the 7th edition for the discussion questions, but the comprehensive questions are matching.
Okay, well, I just did a screenshot. I'm gonna post it in the week 4 for those
Yeah,
that
it's matching with the
it
book
is
I have.
matching.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, well, if you have, you can take a photo of it right now. This is for chapter 1. This is week 1's comprehension question. Okay. I'm going to, let me go back to section 2. We're missing the second one too? Let me see. Let me
Yes,
look at,
yes, Professor. But maybe like if they are same on the both books, then maybe I can find it on like the book that I have, the 7th edition.
I think, okay, this is 2.2 and it's asking us for comprehension. I assume it's chapter 2 because there's one when they skipped the chapter. The syllabus skipped a chapter. Okay, so we didn't do chapter 2. It was chapter 3. So it's chapter 3 comprehension for week 2. Okay. This is driving me crazy. Let me stop share, see if I can.
Yeah, so the chapter 2 comprehension problem in 7th edition book, it's in page 121.
Page what?
It's for the 7th edition, 121.
121, okay. Of the book, not the PDF?
In PDF, I
No,
will
not,
say for the, just a
not
second,
the PDF.
for the PDF, I shared the link for the book in the chat, and in this book, it will be PDF. It's comprehensive questions. It's like I have 10th edition. Just a second, I will say the exact page for the second. Just a second, because they have a lot of. It will be 144 comprehensive problem, because it should, yes, for PDF it's 144 exactly. Small part.
Okay, so
I don't know. Maybe I can share, because I'm not sure that I can share this
I'm
in the
almost
chat.
there, Natalia. I'm almost there to the ends for the chapter comprehension, and I'll just post both. This will be chapter for week 1 and week 2, the comprehension questions.
Because in week 2, they
Week 2
have.
is chapter 3. We didn't do week, chapter 2.
Maybe.
It's too long ago.
No, I believe week 3 is chapter 5.
Week 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is
Just-
week 2. We're in week 2.
So week 2 is chapter 3, right?
Yes. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't design the course, so I am doing my best here. Let me find. I'm almost there.
We'll check if I made the appropriate problems, because looks like I spent 3 days for it, and maybe it's not.
So what happens, guys, is that when you spend all that time and then you end up doing the wrong one, I don't know. Like, okay, here is Oh, here. Okay, let me share back again. I didn't want you to see me. Okay. This is the comprehension for week 3. I'm sorry, the chapter 3, week 2, chapter 3, the comprehension problem right here. Okay. So my question to you is, so it's 2 pages. You see that? So I guess I'll do 2 screenshots. I will do the screenshots.
Can you show me the page number on the second page? I want to see if it's match or not with the 7th edition.
Okay.
It's 211. Okay. It's 187.
Well, maybe it's on a different page, but maybe it's the same question.
Yeah, it's the same question.
It's the same?
Yeah.
Okay. How about the top? Is it the same?
Yes, I think that's I have the same.
Okay.
Yeah, I
it's
have
the
the
same.
same.
Well, no matter what, I will post it.
Yeah, it's the same. I made the right one.
So in these, I mean, since we're here, look, paid salaries payable from year 2, right? This is what you're talking about, Natalia, where it came from the last year, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
so,
Yes.
but we know that salaries is going to have money leaving, right? It's an expense leaving. And then the next one, it's a loan. Look, the loan is interest-free. So it's a liability.
Yeah, but we have also these notes payable, and looks like it was interesting. And also for me, it was interesting that this one collected 19,000 on the 9th, receivable during the year. So I need to understand it. It was like interesting for me to calculate this.
So they're having you use this right here as what your year 3 looked like. And then you're going to edit from here, right?
Yeah, it
This
looks
is your
like we have from the beginning, and then we should remember that we have, especially as I remember for suppliers, it was interesting because we have 65 for suppliers, then we bought some for account, then bought something for cash, and in the end of the year we have some amount on the suppliers, and we need to understand how much we spent. So we need to remember about this calculation that we spend these when have, and we, like, for me it was like I paid this one, and I have this where I need to plus in order to have this amount in the end. And it was like how it looks. And
was
for
a
me
hot
it was yes, I found it should be right, because for me it was also interesting that, like, in the suppliers we have one amount in the end of the year, but for expenses we have another one.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
look at
we
number
need
4. Look at number 4. On May 1st, you paid $3,000 for 12 months rent, and you paid it in advance,
yes.
right?
And then we should also have the question that we need to recognize how much we spent for this prepaid rent, because in the end we have like adjustments, something like this.
Yeah. I think the textbook gives you an example of that, right?
Yes.
That's why you need the pages above it. So I'll post this so that you can see what the questions look like, but you still need the book because they do actually a good job explaining on each entry where it should go and how you would end up with the number. So sometimes maybe you would do all of them correct except one, but it's going to throw your total number at the end.
Yeah, it was the same with me,
Yeah,
because
I have to go back and figure out where is it that the miscalculation happened. So it's a little bit of, but at the end, like when I'm grading your work, I just want you to understand the concept of where it is. Am I looking for every single answer correct? I usually look at the total and I try to find out where it was that was missed. But if I cannot find it, I'm moving on. Otherwise, I'll never finish you guys' grading. So, unfortunately. Right.
My numbers now the same, but when like in the end I made all this point like A, B, C, D, E, and in the end maybe because I made a lot, I saw another version of like in the book. I saw that maybe my calculation is wrong, and I understand that maybe I put the amount like in another place, not the right one. But then I said that, but everything is clear. Like I match everything, like debit and credit are equal. So maybe I was right, except of this explanation in the book. So I keep as it is and just think that in a book it's like I don't see this explanation in the book because everything is matching right now.
Natalia, I'm going to stop recording right now. So I want to stop.